Hello students, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy previous year questions analysis. And since past few days we have been discussing and analyzing how to structure the previous year questions. So the overall objective of the program, as you already know, that we focus on structuring the answer. Now in exam, it is very important that you have to know how to approach this answer. So that is actually the essence, and you should also identify the key demand of the question. Okay, so what should be the key demand of the question and how you need to structure the answer, and this is actually the essence in scoring the good marks. Okay, so the first question that we are starting here in this session is about the volcanic eruptions. Okay, so mention the global occurrence of volcanic eruptions in the year 2021 and their impact on the regional environment. Okay, so in the year 2022 also UPSC has asked a similar question, and 2023 also UPSC has asked a similar question. So in 2023 UPSC has asked about the dam failure, and what are the major causes of dam failures, and mention two examples of recent dam failures. Okay, so you can identify the trend that how UPSC is actually asking a question. Now the first question is that mention the global occurrence of volcanic eruptions. Okay, in the year 2021, so what are the major occurrences of volcanic eruptions and their actual impact on the regional environment? Okay, so this is actually the demand of the question. Now in this context, volcanic eruptions are actually movement of magma from the interiors to the surface and erupt as a lava on the surface. Okay, now if you actually understand how volcanic eruptions usually takes place, so volcanic eruptions are actually the movement of magma from the interiors of the surface. Okay, so if you look at the mountain in this manner, and the magma actually move from the interiors of the surface and erupts as lava. So once it comes out, it is known as lava onto the surface. Now there are different plate boundaries. Okay, so convergent plate boundaries, so they usually converge with each other, and divergent plate boundaries. Okay, so divergent plate boundaries, and even we have the transform plate boundaries. So we also have the transform plate boundaries. So when we talk about the convergent plate boundaries, the volcanic eruptions are actually acidic acidic magma, and at the divergent plate boundaries, so these are divergent plate boundaries, the volcanic eruptions are basic magma. Okay, they have the basic magma. Now the Pacific Ring of Fire actually constitutes 65% of all volcanic eruptions in the world. So you can imagine the quantum of volcanic eruptions that usually takes place at the Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay, so therefore the Pacific Ring of Fire, so if you look at the world map here, so this is India, and okay, so and USA. Now this is the area where the Pacific Ring of Fire is actually located. Now this Pacific Ring of area is actually responsible for the around 65% of the volcanic eruptions. Now the question asks us about the global occurrences of volcanic eruptions in the year 2021. So what are the major global occurrences of volcanic eruptions in the year? Now first we need to talk about the January 2021 volcanic eruption that took place in the Fuego volcano, Guatemala. Okay, so that was erupted in Guatemala. Now where is this Guatemala is located? Now Guatemala is a Central American country. Okay, in the year 2021 in Fuego volcano in Guatemala, it has erupted. Now that led to the ashfall and lava flows to the nearby communities. Now after that, in March 2021 also there's a Merapi volcano in Indonesia that was erupted. So that has also caused ashfall and evacuations by nearby villages. And after that, in April 2021, so there was a Taal volcano in Philippines erupted. So please understand, Philippines is located in the Pacific Ring of Fire. So this Taal volcano in Philippines has also erupted, and that has also led to the ash fall and evacuations and displacement of the people in those areas where the Taal volcano has located. Now after that, in addition to above mentioned examples, there are also several other eruptions like Kilauea volcano in Hawaii and ongoing activity of Sakurajima volcano in Japan. Okay, so these are all the examples, the major examples of volcanic eruptions that usually takes place across the world. Okay, so by this way we have addressed the demand of the question in the first part itself. Now, what is the major impact of these eruptions on the regional climate? So please understand, this is the second part of the question. So the second part of the question has been asking us to write the impact of these eruptions on the regional climate. See, similarly, generally volcanoes have caused global warming over millions of years. Why? Because when volcanic eruption takes place, it also releases various other gases into the atmosphere. Okay, so this is one way through which the global warming is caused by these volcanic eruptions. Okay. Now these extreme amounts of volcanism occurred and releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Now after that, the volcanic eruptions are generally preceded by increased seismic activity. So in recent times there is a increased seismic activity. Okay, so particularly because of the global warming and everything, increasing the anthropogenic activities and all. So after that, we need to talk about the ash fall from the eruptions. So they can cause damage to the crops and the infrastructure. Now when any volcanic eruption usually takes place, the ash fall from these eruptions, so they can cause damage to the crops and they can also damage the nearby infrastructure, so thereby making those places uninhabitable. Okay, so they can also they can also disrupt the air travel. So these are the consequences of volcanic eruption on the regional climate. Apart from that, the lava flows can destroy homes and they can also destroy the infrastructure as well. Okay, so therefore they can lead to the formation of new land. Right, so volcanic ash can also have a significant impact on the human health. So it is not free from causing any negative impacts on the human health, because it also releases the sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide. They are very harmful whenever we talk about the human health. Okay, so they also release carbon monoxide, so they are very harmful for the human being. So therefore they are at first place in causing these respiratory issues and other problems. So in addition to this, the volcanic eruptions can very often lead to changes in the local climate. So changes in the local climate means they alter the rainfall patterns, they also modify the temperatures in those local areas, and apart from that, the quality of air further declines in those areas. Okay, so these are the major implications of these volcanic eruptions in the regional environment. Okay, so in this context, you cannot suggest any measures to mitigate the volcanic or prevent volcanic eruptions. However, you can take the mitigation measures. Okay, so mitigation measures. So mitigation measures like you cannot prevent or predict volcanic eruptions earlier. So we have not yet developed to that advanced that we can predict these volcanic eruptions. That is highly impossible. So however, we can take certain measures to mitigate these volcanic eruptions. Okay, so we can also take certain measures to reduce the harmful impacts of these volcanic eruptions on human beings. So you can just mention those mitigation measures as in the conclusion, so that it makes conclusion more and more impactful and attractive to the examiner, and that will help you score good marks. Now after that, the next question that we're going to discuss is about why India is considered as a subcontinent. Okay, now India as a nation, it is actually a political expression. Okay, so it is actually a political expression. But when we talk about the geographical expression, India is very often represented as Indian subcontinent. Indian subcontinent. So Indian subcontinent generally means that the Indian plate is actually collided with the Eurasian plate. So this is Indian plate has actually collided with the Eurasian plate. So we all know about that. So this collision of Indian plate with the Eurasian plate has led to the rise of Himalayas. Okay, so it has led to the rise of Himalayas, and Himalayas are considered as young mountains, so they are still growing. Okay, so the height has been still increasing. So therefore, in this context, the question has been asking, so what are the factors through which you can say that India is still a subcontinent, and elaborate your answer. So when you elaborate your answer, you have to mention examples. Now in the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan is part of the Indian subcontinent, even to a major extent. Afghanistan is part of the Indian subcontinent. That includes Nepal, Bhutan, even Myanmar are part of the Indian subcontinent. Now what is a subcontinent? Okay, so you just have to define the meaning of the subcontinent. So what exactly is the subcontinent? Now subcontinent is actually a part of a continent, right? So for example, subcontinent is not a complete continent. Okay, so it is not a complete continent, rather it is part of a continent, so that is politically, culturally, and even geographically separate from the rest of the continent. Okay, so it is usually separate from the rest of the continent. It is not a continent, but it is similar to a continent, and that is separate from the rest of the continent. So in terms of politics, culturally and geographically. So India is considered as one of the oldest civilizations and countries across the globe with around 4,000 years. Okay, so if you look at India's history, India is around 4,000 years old. India have 4,000 years old history. So therefore, this makes the region unique with its own distinct identity. So there's no doubt that this subcontinent, this Indian subcontinent, has a huge diversity. Okay, so a huge diversity, and apart from huge diversity, it also has a unique history. So because of this reason, the Indian subcontinent is very often dubbed as a unique subcontinent with its own or distinct identity. Now, so why India is called a subcontinent? So what are the major reasons because of that India is called a subcontinent? So firstly, we need to talk about the geographical vastness of a continent, so of Indian subcontinent. So in terms of the geographical vastness, so you know that what are the countries which comes under the Indian subcontinent. So geographically, India is the 7th largest country in the world. Now apart from that, Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar are actually part of the Indian subcontinent. So therefore, it covers around 2.4% of Earth's total land area. Okay, so it is the 7th largest, and it covers 2.4% of the Earth's total land area. Okay, so it has a long land frontier of about 15,200 kilometers, and it has a coastline of around 7,516 kilometers. See, I would like to suggest you that whenever you write an answer, in each point you mention examples and data, so that helps you enrich your answer. So after that, we need to talk about the natural frontiers of the Indian subcontinent. So Indian subcontinent also has several natural frontiers, like we need to talk about the Himalayas in the north and Deccan Peninsula in the south. Okay, so the Deccan Peninsula in the south, so give it a unique identity on the global scale. Okay, so at the global level, they give it a unique identity. So after that, we need to talk about the geopolitics as well. Now when we talk about the geopolitics from the political perspective, the Indian subcontinent usually consists of at least 7 countries. Okay, so I have already told you that. So what are the countries which comes under the Indian subcontinent? So these countries which are part of the Indian subcontinent include India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. So all these countries can be considered as part of the Indian subcontinent. So even though Sri Lanka and Maldives are being separated by sea, so they are also considered as part of the Indian subcontinent. Now after that, we need to talk about the Indic identity. Okay, so what is Indic identity? Indic identity means, we have already discussed that the Indian subcontinent has 4,000 years of history. So since it has a 4,000 of years history, so it is known as one of the unique country or unique subcontinent with a unique history. So therefore, most of these countries, if you observe the people in these areas, they have the common identity. Okay, so the people of Indian subcontinent, they have the shared identity, shared ethnic, linguistic, cultural, and historical connections. So that is with the size of the Indian subcontinent, having this shared ethnic, linguistic, and cultural, historical connections is very well described here. And because of this reason also, so we can call India as a subcontinent. So after that, we need to talk about the population also. Now India has surpassed China as the world's largest populous country. Now even if you include all the countries' population in the Indian subcontinent, so it is considered as one of the most populous, topmost populous regions in the world, Indian subcontinent. So even without including these countries also, India is the most populous country in the world, bypassing China. We need to talk about the climate homogeneity also. So if you observe the Indian subcontinent, it has the monsoon type of climate. Okay, the monsoon type of climate usually impact the every country in the subcontinent. So apart from having a monsoon type of a climate, so most of these countries or the Indian subcontinent is located in the tropical region. So it experiences both tropical as well as the temperate climate. Okay, tropical as well as temperate climate. So therefore you can see there's a homogeneity in terms of the climate. Okay, the entire land mass is monsoon dependent, and it is very often dominated by the deciduous vegetation. Now what exactly is the meaning of deciduous vegetation? So deciduous vegetation means that with season there is a fall in the leaves of these trees. Okay, so in deciduous vegetation, deciduous vegetation is very often occur in the central part of our country, central part of India. Okay, so in if you look at the western margins of our country, particularly Western Ghats region, there's a tropical evergreen forest along in northeast also. So therefore there's a huge climate homogeneity in India. Okay, so now when you write conclusion for this answer, as I have already told you that the Indian subcontinent, so the Indian subcontinent has collided with the Eurasian plate. So it has collided with the Eurasian plate. So therefore in this context, it has led to the rise of Himalayas, and these Himalayas are known as Young and Fold mountains. So they are known as Young and Fold mountains. So India is now aligned with the Asian continent. Okay, so even though it has its unique history, unique cultural geographical setting, it has aligned with the Asian continent. So but it is a distinct region divided by the Himalayas. Okay, so this region is actually segregated or separated by the Himalayas, and it is originally a distinct geologic plate. So when we say that it is originally a distinct geological plate, so this has actually moved in this manner. So earlier it is usually connected with Africa, Australia, Madagascar. So over a period of time, this distinct geological plate has moved northwards and collided and fused with the Eurasian plate. Okay, it is collided with the Eurasian plate. Okay, so this is how you have to write this answer and conclusion. Now please remember, so whenever you write answer for these type of questions, you have to mandatorily draw a diagram, because that enhances or enriches the value of your answer. So therefore it is very important that you must draw a proper diagram in each of these answers. So the next question that we're going to discuss is about this is also one of the most important questions that UPSC usually asks. Okay, so examine the uniqueness of tribal knowledge system when compared with the mainstream knowledge or the cultural systems. Okay, so tribes in India have their own knowledge systems. Okay, so that is significantly different from the mainstream knowledge and cultural systems, right? So in this context, because of the increased interference in the lives of these tribals, the uniqueness of the tribal knowledge system has been fast eroding. Even you often hear the term called biopiracy. So because of the term biopiracy, what generally happens is that the corporate groups, the MNCs, usually have rights over the the traditional knowledge systems of these tribals. So over a period of time, the benefits of the traditional tribal knowledge, which originally belonged to the tribal groups, will be owned by these MNCs, and the benefits will not be extended to these tribal groups. Okay, so therefore in this context, it is very important for us to understand the uniqueness of tribal knowledge system when compared to the mainstream knowledge and cultural systems. Now, tribal knowledge systems differ from the mainstream knowledge and cultural systems in various ways. Okay, so it is different in various ways as exemplified by the Indian tribes. Okay, so how it is different in various ways? Firstly, we need to talk about the source of knowledge. So when we talk about the source of knowledge, tribal knowledge usually stems from the indigenous communities. Okay, so the tribal knowledge usually developed by these indigenous communities alone. So they themselves develop the knowledge and from their experiences. So whereas when we talk about the mainstream knowledge, so they very often rely on formal education and even the scientific research. Okay, so we can mention the example of Todas. So Toda is a major tribe in Nilgiris in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so they possess the indigenous knowledge with respect to the dairy farming. See, in every point you must mention at least one example that significantly enhances the value of the answer. Now after that, we need to talk about the transmission aspect as well. Okay, so this traditional knowledge usually transmitted from one generation to the other generation. When we talk about the tribals, so it is usually transmitted or passed down to other generation orally or through rituals and storytelling. Okay, so when we talk about the mainstream knowledge, so it is disseminated through written texts, mass media and formal institutions. Okay, so this is how the traditional knowledge is usually transmitted. Now after that, the Warli tribe in Maharashtra. Okay, so the example is Warli tribe in Maharashtra. So they actually passed down the art of Warli painting. Now see, the Warli painting is asked by UPSC in the year 2021 prelims examination. So therefore this is part of the art and culture section. So therefore be careful and you have to pay enough attention. Okay, so the Warli tribe in Maharashtra actually passes down the art of Warli painting through generations. Okay, orally or rituals or storytelling. And they usually have the connection with the nature, since most of the time they intricately linked with the nature and the forest. So they have a connection with the nature. Now the tribal knowledge systems are deeply rooted in the environment and emphasizing on the interconnectedness of humans, animals and the nature. Okay, so they very often have these interconnectedness with the humans, with the animals and with the nature. So therefore the mainstream knowledge often prioritizes human perspectives and economic development. Now how the traditional knowledge systems of tribals are different from the mainstream knowledge. So mainstream knowledge very often prioritizes human perspectives and even the economic developmental aspect as well. So example is Khasi tribe. So where this Khasi tribe usually live? Khasi tribes live in Meghalaya. Okay, Garo Khasi Jaintia hills. Now Khasi tribe in Meghalaya showcases their connection to the nature through living root bridges. Please also understand this living root bridges has also been asked by UPSC in prelims examination. So in this, from this content itself, you have got two prelims questions. So firstly, the living root bridges is a one of the major practice of a tribal people from which of the following states? The answer is Meghalaya, and UPSC asked this question. And secondly, UPSC has also directly asked about the Worli paintings. So therefore, please pay attention and listen all these things very carefully. And after that, we need to talk about the holistic approach that is being adopted by the tribal knowledge systems. So they usually adopt the holistic approach. Okay, so tribal knowledge systems usually take a holistic view, integrating the spiritual, social and ecological aspects of the knowledge systems. However, the mainstream knowledge tends to compartmentalize the disciplines. Okay, so it usually compartmentalize the disciplines. For example, the Apatani tribe. Okay, so these tribals are also very important. So please understand and pay attention to this. The Apatani tribe of Arunachal Pradesh, they practice integrated farming. Okay, so they usually practice integrated farming. Now, what exactly is the integrated farming? I have already told you. So what comes under the integrated farming? For example, practicing of dairy farming, okay, aquaculture, horticulture, and even cultivation of various other crops. Okay, so in this, one domain is usually depend on other. So there's a kind of an interrelatedness in the integrated farming. So it also combining rice and fish farming, and that is practiced by Apatani tribe of Arunachal Pradesh. And when we talk about the local relevance of these knowledge systems, so tribal knowledge are context specific. Okay, so they are actually tailored for the demands of the local communities. So rather than the mainstream knowledge system, so they usually have the universal principles. Okay, so they usually promote the universal principles and standardized practices. Okay, so therefore they have a huge local relevance. Now after that, the Soliga tribe in Karnataka holds an extensive knowledge of local flora and fauna. So that is crucial for conserving the Bilagiri Rangana Temple Wildlife Sanctuary. So where this Bilagiri Rangana Wildlife Sanctuary is located, it is located in the Karnataka. Okay, and the tribal community which lives in the Bilagiri Rangana Swami Temple is Soliga tribe. Okay, so this is Soliga tribe. Okay, you just remember this, because since they have a hold extensive knowledge with respect to the local flora and local fauna, so they can conserve and protect the local forests, local ecosystems. Since even the the extensive knowledge will also resulted in community engagement in the forest conservation. So they help in preventing poaching. And since the extensive knowledge will also help identify the medicinal plants in the forest. Okay, so medicinal plants in the forest. So in conclusion, the tribal knowledge systems very often offer unique perspectives that complement mainstream knowledge. Okay, so they complement the mainstream knowledge, and it helps in recognizing and valuing these contributions and foster inclusive, diverse and sustainable societies. So this is how you have to conclude this answer. Okay, so ultimately you have to emphasize on the positive aspect, the positive side or the significance of the traditional tribal knowledge systems. Okay, so because they have a unique perspectives, they have the unique perspectives, and in recent times the tribal knowledge systems have also been disappearing at a faster pace, so because of various reasons. Okay, so there was an excess interference in the lives of the tribals, and that has also been leading to the disappearance of these traditional knowledge systems. So therefore there is an inherent need to protect these traditional tribal knowledge systems, and that is very important. Okay, so when we recognize and value these contributions, so that can help foster inclusive, diverse and sustainable societies. So that is what we are actually striving for. So that is what we wanted to build now. Okay, so therefore in this context, we need to identify, we need to recognize the traditional tribal knowledge systems, and then we have to take measures to protect those tribal knowledge systems, so that will ensure inclusive, diverse and sustainable societies. Okay, so for today that's all, and tomorrow we will come up with few more questions and we will also discuss them in a detailed way, so that you will understand how we can structure those answers. Now structuring answers is very important, so that helps you over a period of time gain important insights over structuring of the answer. So from tomorrow's lecture we will do one thing, that first we structure the answer, and then we try to answer each of the parts. Okay, so each question has different parts, and we identify those parts and then try to structure the answer, and then try to address each of those parts, so that it will be helpful for you to understand what exactly the essence of the question and what we need to address. Each question has a different demand. Now if you miss the demand, you will get lesser marks. Okay, so therefore we need to understand the essence, we need to understand the key demand, we need to structure it in a better manner. Okay, so that's all for today, and please like the video if you really like our work, and subscribe to our YouTube channel Bajirao IAS Academy, and thank you.